It's like, look, you okay? The Bible says you created me, but you created me as a Hawaiian who loves you, who has been taught by my parents to be Christian and loves you. Okay, like that's oil and water. Like, and you said that I was good. So how come all of the community says, okay, I'm too Hawaiian to be Christian and I'm too Christian to be Hawaiian?
Mm.
Like I'm like, what the heck? Like full on conversation, like, what the hell, God? Like what
Yeah.
the hell? I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Mm-hmm.
And then immediately he was like, who told you those things?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what do you mean? Who told me? He's like, who told you that you have to be one or the other? That it couldn't be the same? And I was like, oh, people. He was like, look, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell you that. Why are you believing that?
Mm-hmm.
And so it started out this whole like deep dive of who I am as a Christian, so that I could really, like, there's those scriptures that were taken out of the Bible, like split a piece of wood, and you will find me. Turn over a rock, and I am there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, taken out of the Bible because that reflects what we were doing.
Mm-hmm. That God is actually everywhere at all times.
Yeah.
This is a funny insight that I always find it fascinating, like how, and a lot of Christian friends and all that, but how, like, the Bible clearly says that God is everywhere at all times.
Omnipresent.
Yeah, omnipresent, right?
Yeah.
And yet, it's like you say, well, what do you see? Like, you could say this is a cup, but if you want to be more accurate, you say this is God.
Yeah.
This isn't all of God, but it's God. Just the same way that, like, a wave is not really a thing, it's really the ocean, right? A wave is just the formation that the ocean is taking at that time. But that's that irony that Christians will separate things from God.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that they all do that, but when I see it, I'm like, it's your book, man. I'm just like telling you back your book.
That's how I feel. I went into the book, and God was just like guiding me, and because I was one of those naggy children. I was just like, look, there's this, and then it. I mean, okay, so one of them is, I was having the difficulty of like the 40,000 gods and goddesses,
Mm-hmm.
or 400,000, and he was like, again, who brought that to you? It was a man, Paho,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was like, oh my gosh, like, so I had to put into my brain that the constructs that were forced upon my mind was because of man.
Mm-hmm.
Once that wiped away, and I just had the relationship with God, and he was like, okay, now you see me. So even with Pele, I was like, what about Pele? She's a fire goddess. She's a volcano, blah, blah, blah. He was like, look, where did Pele die? I was like, Maui. Okay, where did she die? I was like, oh, Kaivio Pele. And he was like, right. I was like, oh. I was like, he's hilarious with me. He was like, right. I was like, okay, yeah, so what? And he was like, what's the name? Kaivio Pele. He's like, right. I was like, what is going on? Well, Kaivio Pele means the bones of Pele.
Okay.
Which told me, I was like, oh, shoot, bones. She was an actual person, an actual human being that was deified.
Mm.
And then deified to the point where outside the Western infiltration came and said, she's a goddess.
Oh.
We deified her as if, like, when we think about our grandparents or like people who have passed away, our ancestors, and we honor them, that kind of deity. But it turned into this goddess.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good for merchandising.
Great, right? So then I realized, like, like, there was this parallel. There's this nature thing that happened, volcano. There's this Pele thing that happened, the person. Then there is this spiritual thing that happened after she passed away, that deified her in all three, right? Mm-hmm. And every single one of our 400,000 gods and goddesses had that relationship. That there are people. There's a Pele inside of me when I dance. like there's all of these things, and that might be like woo woo, like some kind of voodoo thing going on, but no, like really like her characteristics I
Hmm.
take on, right? Um, so that's in short my journey of trying to be okay with who I am as a Kanaka and a Christian,
Hmm.
because the God that I serve is not the one that puts me in a box.
Hmm.
Um, and he says, and look, the Bible too. That's King James version, not mine.
Hmm.
So
Um, could you define Kanaka?
Kanaka, yes, Kanaka is any human being.
Okay.
Yeah. So I say Kanaka Hawaii um, to differentiate that as well, because if I speak to a Japanese who happens to know Hawaiian,
Hmm.
it could mean him or her as well as a Kanaka, right? So I say Kanaka Hawaii.
Meaning you're a Hawaiian being?
Yeah,
Okay.
a Hawaiian being, yeah, or of Hawaiian descent,
Okay.
or yeah. Um, if it's like all Hawaiians, when you just say Kanaka, we know that separates us language wise,
Hmm.
right? So, like with me and you, that language, I know when I say Kanaka, because then there is the difference of me knowing that there is this person who is of Hawaiian descent.
Hmm.
Yeah. But if other Hawaiians are there and they're Japanese, actually, I
Hmm.
have to differentiate that, if that makes sense, right?
You mean like if they're partially Hawaiian or if they live in Hawaii but they're Japanese?
So if they're Japanese and they understand Hawaiian language,
Oh, okay.
yeah. If I was to tell him, "Oh, Kanaka," he or she might think, "Oh, okay, any human being."
Oh, I see.
But for in this context between you and I use Kanaka as a a person, um, but because of the language that is Hawaiian.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense,
Not totally, but
but it is. But yeah, Kanaka Hawaii is your Hawaiian people,
uh-huh.
people of Hawaiian descent.
Do you think that in terms of the healing that's coming, it's going to require Hawaiians to come back to Hawaii, or do you think that basically there's been a split of the tribe?
I think that it will give an opportunity. I don't know about require. Now, I think because, yeah, I think it'll give an opportunity.
Mm,
Now, for the healing to happen, honestly, I feel like the healing can happen anywhere.
mm,
They don't need to be here. Some people truly believe that they have to be in Hawaii. They don't have to be here. I find Hawaii everywhere in America.
mm-hmm.
Um, but like I said, it's something different for me because of hula. Um, I'm like walking around in Disneyland. I'm like, there's a Hawaiian plant. Let me make a lei.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh wow. Like I find Hawaii everywhere,
Uh-huh.
but not everyone is blessed to have that kind of a mind.
Yeah.
So I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. A lot of those who have generationally moved to America
Mm,
are already just rooted in there, and I mean, it would be just like going in and infiltrating them again, right?
oh,
Because they have generations there, even though they're Kanaka or Hawaiian people. Um,
so it's like they've put the roots down enough somewhere else that
yeah,
that's become home.
that's to come home. Yeah,
Mm,
and then they just want to come and visit
mm-hmm.
and then go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say that it's going to create an opportunity.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, I mean, I would hope to have more Kanaka coming home.
mm,
Um, yeah, that would be beautiful. But also, um, because of who I am, because of the relationships that I build, anyone who is not Kanaka, I still love them as well and
mm,
want them to reside, prosper
mm,
here. Yeah. Well, my big thing about that is how do you how does one immerse yourself into the community, if that at all. That's one thing that kind of doesn't sit well with me when FOBs fresh off the boat come on over and they say, "Oh, I love this because of paradise," and then I'm not gonna immerse myself into the community.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sit well with me. Even Pele, just to put it into perspective, Pele, she was a haole.
Mm.
Um, and it says in the chants, she's a foreigner.
Okay.
Yeah, it says in the chants, she's a haole. She
Mm.
comes over here, and she doesn't just set up shop. She goes into prayer
Mm-hmm.
in the chants. She goes into Kanainai Pelema. She goes into prayer to ask the space around her to allow her family to set up their tikis, their ancestors, and then she builds the house. Actually, no. Yeah, hello. Then she builds the sleeping quarters. Then she builds her teaching and learning quarters, right? And then first thing she goes is go down to the community. First thing.
Mm.
I'm like that. From our ancient chants, we learn the protocol,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean, I know I can't expect everyone who moves here to do so, but I'm like, isn't that what you do, right? You move into a neighborhood. First thing you go, knock on your neighbor's doors, right?
Right. If you have manners.
If you have manners, right?
Yeah.
They don't do that here.
Right.
Um,
I mean, as someone who's not lived here very long, I feel even upset by that.
well,
Because I put in a bit of time of like learning the land and all the flora and fauna and all some
and
history
even running in Honu, like even that, even that, just those little things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these people.
Well, it's funny because in the last couple of years, there's been a big influx, right, from
Yeah.
the mainland, and it's noticeably changed the culture. Especially I noticed in the driving.
Oh, bro,
It kills me.
I'm like, do people know that turning signals are law?
Right.
I'm just like, what is going on?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if there was anything that, like that aloha kind of attitude of, just treating people as if we're neighbors, not just another thing that's in your way of wherever you're going.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see more of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm being naively optimistic and hoping that as people live here longer, they'll kind of settle into that. What I really hope doesn't happen is just that enough people from outside come in and then it shifts the way it is here to how it was there.
Yeah.
That would break my heart,
Yeah. I'm doing a little bit of my own infiltration. As you see, my halau is made up of non-Hawaiians.
Yeah.
And I charge them with the task of going out and spreading aloha and telling other people, because it's hilarious when you have Hawaiians, malihini, out there telling other Hawaiians about aloha. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel good because I'm like, yeah, because our Hawaiian community, most of them don't know what aloha really, really means.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm doing a little bit of my own infiltration.
Yeah.
But mainly because of one of my students told me, Kumu, can you teach me how to be a good haole?
Yeah.
I was like, let me get on board with this.
Yeah.
She's even just, we're also hopefully eventually working on something for the airlines, how to be a good haole before watch this movie before you get off this plane.
Right.
Yeah.
In case of an emergency, and also how to be a good haole.
Yes. But aloha. I love that you said that it's what did you say? You were saying it's like neighborly. It wasn't. You didn't define it as love, goodbye, and hello. I love that. Because that was out of necessity. Necessity to give it those definitions. the intention of the true meaning of aloha was very real for our people. And the true meaning for me, um, there's, well, we have what we call kauna, or you know it as metaphor and double entendres. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So aloha, hello, goodbye, love. Alo and ha, face to face, sharing the breath of life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not physically like we're just like breathing. I mean, yes, we're in the vicinity that we're breathing each other's breath,
Mm-hmm.
but also sharing our life forces, what we're going through, our stories,
Mm-hmm.
that type of ha. Then there's intention, to ignite, to set ablaze.
Mm-hmm.
Lo, to obtain, and ha, the breath of life. If I come to you and I tell you aloha, my intention is that you obtain whatever you need in your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it back to me, your intention is the same. Yeah. So if I tell you aloha, I better be ready to go pull weeds if you need,
Mm-hmm.
to go and have a conversation if you need, right? If I don't have that intention for it, like if I say, well, I cannot do that today, um, that then the greeting would be velina mai, which means welcome or hello.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a different um, greeting that we would use.
So the way that sounds to me is that in that higher meaning of aloha, it's like a blessing that you're offering somebody. Like
Yeah.
like when someone says like have a blessed day, it's like I hope everything comes to you that you
Yep.
you know.
Yeah. And so aloha comes with kuleana, comes with responsibility.
Mm.
If you're gonna say it, um, you gotta be willing and able to bring to that person life,
Mm-hmm.
whatever way that you need. Yeah. So at one time, everyone felt that way. Yeah.
Mm.
In ancient times, everyone felt that way. That's why the word was just regularly used. Then, when the people started to come in and they see, oh, everyone's greeting with one another with aloha. Well, yeah, because they were probably all family,
Mm.
and they really had that intention that the person was well. But they also were greeted with velina, and so, but the person receiving the velina was like, wait, what about this aloha thing?
Yeah, that sounds better. I want that.
Yeah. Why does everybody get aloha and I get a velina? Well, because we don't really know you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's when I teach that in my class, and I bring it up all the time because and I was even like kind of not yelled at by one of the students, these aunties. It's like, oh, so are you telling me that I can't use aloha anymore? I think no, absolutely not. You can absolutely use aloha if you have the intention.
Right. Just use it correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I think yeah. If you have no desire for that person to be a part of your life, why are you telling them aloha?
Mm.
Aloha is reserved for your family and friends
Mhm.
and people that are close to you or your kaiaulu, right? So just had to rewire the brain a little
Mhm.
bit, but
Yeah, I noticed that with certain friendships, you offer aloha.
Yeah.
But if they don't get it, they don't understand the distinction, then it's almost kind of like they'll take a seat that they haven't earned.
Mm.
And I've seen that become a problem.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, well, I want to be gracious and welcoming, but there's also the understanding that I've afforded you a certain credit, and I also expect you to live up to this expectation.
Yeah.
But then if you don't take your shoes off, you don't take your sandals off, and I don't know, you act in a way that now I kind of regret having invited you into my home.
Right.
Well,
Yeah. Even in the greeting we call a honi. Honi was it was diluted to just a kiss. But we have a honi where you've probably seen where your forehead to forehead, nose to nose, right? That whole thing you're breathing. That honey, at one time, it was done everywhere by everyone
Mm.
because everyone trusted everyone, right? But when new people started to come, you wouldn't do that honey because yours. What usually happens is the hand goes behind the neck
Mm.
or under the nape, and you're holding the person like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't really know what's in their hand when they put their hand behind
Yeah,
your
it's a very
neck.
vulnerable and trusting position.
Yes,
Yeah.
very vulnerable, right? And also with dealing with the hair.
Mm.
The hair is a very sacred thing to us. Um, any part of like one follicle of hair could be used to make that person sick if you were a kahuna,
Mm.
right? So having the hand there, yeah, it's very, very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And then when those um, missionaries first came and they did this,
Oh yeah.
right? There's no ha there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sharing of breath of life. And then also they had, the gun or the knife behind the back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's where some people believe that it was ha ole.
Oh, interesting. That's where the
Haole
haole came
comes
from.
from. Yeah,
Okay.
ha ole.
Without
Without
the
breath.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Um, yeah.
Huh.
That's what some people define it as.
Okay.
Yeah. So I forget where we came off of that from.
I don't know.
But yeah, aloha. Aloha is an amazing thing. And Kaiaulu, the community.
Mm-hmm.
I even shared with my students like, hey, knowing that they have their second homes here and maybe even their Airbnbs here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, I'm like, hey, go out into your Kaiaulu, go into your community. And I'm not talking about just showing up at like one of the resorts to go and watch Uncle play music.
Mm-hmm.
But go to the parades,
Mm-hmm.
and show up for family day or whatever. Just go and be part of the community.
Yeah, I think people underestimate the effect that it has to just be out and
Yeah.
and nice to other people.
Yeah.
In an unjustifiable way. Like
Yeah.
just be nice to somebody because it's good for you and it's good for them.
Right.
Like to reestablish that kind of like to reestablish the precedent of this is how we want to treat each other. And I think that the more you do it, the more normal it will be,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, I'm thinking in contrast. New York City, very aggressive. A lot of people. They're not bad people, but it's just the culture to be very cold to each other. Out in public, and then so if you were just to go and hug someone, they would think, oh, are they on drugs? Like,
Right.
it's so weird. But how much nicer and more comfortable would it be? Not that we're out there all touching each other necessarily,
Yeah.
but that it wouldn't be so weird to just be like warm and affectionate to somebody that you don't know just because they're a decent human being and you live around each other. But it's going to take that concerted effort to break out of these kind of like isolated, because a lot of people, they come here without family, right? They're
Right.
it's just their immediate family and then like their spouse, maybe a kid or two. And then they don't engage or really integrate with the community around them. So they get used to just waving from a distance.
Yeah. Yeah. We have friends straight out from Russia. They've been here for I think maybe 7 years. But they've also been dancing for a halau for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
The mom and the two kids, like straight up from Russia, still speaking parts. Like you can hear the accent, right?
Uh-huh.
But let me tell you, they move like Tahitians. They're growing kalo, like they're doing. They fully immersed into the community,
Mm-hmm.
and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see this Haole family, and they're dancing Tahitian.
Mm.
I mean, and everybody's just like, "What the heck?" Well, they did what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Even like you, to go and learn about the land. Like I look at your land and I'm like, look, this is a Hawaiian land.
Mm.
Even like it's Kanaka, it's the Hawaiian type of way, and even how you spoke about the Helekonia to
Mm.
recognize those types of things. It's a very I don't want to. I mean, yeah, I do want to consider it Hawaiian, but it's I don't know what that is. It's a very different type of way of life and thinking
Hmm.
because it's a part of Buddhism. It's a part of all these other cultures.
Hmm.
To think that way.
Yeah, I think of it as just being in alignment with nature,
Beautiful.
and then because the Hawaiians have a history of being in alignment with nature, you could also say it's Hawaiian.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and why not be in alignment with nature? You know, look at the clouds.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Um, I mean, I know it's almost rained. I mean, it's rained almost every day, but one of the signs is that they have in the morning in the horizon. There's a billowing clouds.
Hmm.
That was a sign, an omen that told us, the mountain's gonna get rain.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, if there's blackbirds out there, storms rolling in.
Okay.
Yeah. Like these blackbirds that float in. It's like on the ocean though.
Oh,
You can
like
see
seabirds.
seabirds. Yeah, and they're
Okay.
called Eva.
Eva.
Eva birds.
Okay.
See them, storms rolling in.
Okay.
Um, yeah, like there's allowing. We call that kilo to look at nature and to be with nature so much that you can make hypothesis or judgments of how your day is going to be.
Mm.
Yeah. Um,
I mean, I'm good at smelling the rain.
yeah.
That's easy.
Super easy, and I love it. People from here are like, "It smells stink." I'm like,
Uh,
that's because you lived in Hilo. In
uh,
Kona, smells great. Why? Because we know rain's coming. Our hot day is gonna cool down a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah.
I don't have to go water my plants.
Yep, that's exactly what my dad says. Like, yes, I don't have to water it.
Yeah.
And then when we were growing up, we're like, yes, we don't have to go and water it for our dad. But yeah, it's that relationship with nature, man.
So I'd like to ask a favor of you.
Sure.
Could you close us with a prayer?
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Of course. Of course. Olu olu kamana oha aha ako kulana ahonu yala nakila e o mai e Hawaii o ke aloha no ka mea nui e o mai ka lehu lehu na pua na lei na mamu la mai ka la hui lau la kaulana o mai ka lehu lehu ha ai o e Hawaii anu ai Luai me ke aluhai. Nā ke akua e ho'omana mai ki ia ho'o hui ana me ko ka mau ohana. A mahalo ia oe no ke ia la nani, no ke ia halawai ana, no ka ike ana, no ka ho'o maupopo ana. A me ke aloha o ke ia wahi, ke ia hale, a me ke ia ke kane o Maiko. Ke opo mai kai ke wikio, me ka mahalo nui. We just ask that we a blessing upon this place, the household, and also a thanks for our Creator for all the things that are blessed upon us. We ask a blessing upon this video. We ask a blessing upon Michael and to whoever is watching this. Me ke aloha pumehana, amama ua noa. Amen.